Green jobs, the province has been pushing for green jobs, wants to be a leader in that. How would you, as mayor of the City of Toronto, make Toronto a leader within the province in generating green jobs?
Well, I think the province has done a good job with the Green Energy Act. Let's make that clear. People should be congratulated within it. And I'm very much pleased that the province followed the City of Toronto leadership. The wind turbine here was way before they went into wind energy. The solar voltaic installation on top of the Horse Palace was here before the province said to do that. So I'm glad that they followed the City of Toronto leadership in this and other areas. Green jobs is really by creating the atmosphere and the people can prosper. For example, I made the green roofs bylaw. It was my proposal that I've got the council. And guess what now? We're building capacity now because people want to be part of green to build green roofs. 20% of the city is roof area. And now we have a capacity which is creating jobs, which then people can export to other cities and so forth. The wind turbine, solar voltaic installations, you know, even tree plantings, all these here basically to work with the community in order to make it happen. That's what I think you need to do. But the City of Toronto also has to make sure that our taxation is kept within limits. We've lost a lot of jobs, green and otherwise, with the 905. Because historically, before, you know, way before, we allowed taxation to be higher. So this city council, in the last few years, and I plan to continue that, has managed to save $250 million actually from the business community. That way we'll attract jobs back in Toronto. And this year, for example, we gave a 3% tax reduction, believe it or not, reduction, for small retail across the street, demand pass stores. So I think that working with Toronto Hydro, you know, which has got an amazing conservation program which builds capacity, and working with Toronto Hydro and the City of Toronto, and investing some money, that's why you can't really cut. You know, that's what Mr. Smithman, Mr. Rossi, and Mr. Ford want to cut. You have to invest in order to create jobs and a better Toronto for the future.
Joe Pantalone, thank you very much. Robert Rossi.
I'm not a believer in cutting. I'm a believer in investing, but to invest, you've got to be able to come up with the money short of just reaching into people's pocket and taxing. So you have to go from less priority to higher priority items. I too think the intent and objective of Ontario's Green Energy Act is absolutely correct. I do disagree with the fact that Samsung was simply given the deal without a proper process in place. And that's something that we simply cannot allow to happen. You cannot take a multi-billion-dollar project and simply single source the way Mr. Smitherman did. I don't think that's right. I don't think that protects the interests of Ontarians, and it's certainly not the way we need to run the City of Toronto. The most green jobs that we're going to create is in building out public transit. And to those who say, we're going to do it, but don't show me how we're going to finance it, unless, as Mr. Smitherman has suggested, we go out and toll people that somehow there's the ability to have an adult conversation about tolls, but not an adult conversation about something like asset monetization, which generates money for the citizens of Toronto to be able to pay for the priority and the green jobs that we're all looking for. And those green jobs are in transit. And that funding is at risk. So I asked the other candidates, where are we going to get the money? And if there's a better way of generating it, then I'd be delighted to hear about it. But I hear a lot of promises, but checks that the taxpayer is going to end up having to sign. And I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think that's the kind of leadership that the City of Toronto is looking for.
Well, thank you very much. George?
When Mr. Rossi says asset monetization, you got to hear 407 style sell-off. And I think that the people have spoken about the protection of assets which they own. The reality is that Toronto Hydro is a monopoly in the provision of an essential service. And I think for those reasons alone, it bears protection. I also think that with Toronto Hydro, we have a platform which allows us to expand the integration of renewable energy. which is about creating economic opportunity and jobs and allowing us to achieve our climate change objectives. Mr. Rossi criticizes me because I was involved in the Samsung deal, which is bringing 16,500 jobs to the province of Ontario. And further to the Samsung deal, since I have left and pursued the role of mayor of the City of Toronto, the provincial government has been able to leverage a further $8 billion of private sector investment for hundreds of feed-in tariff initiatives taking place all across the province of Ontario. The point of the matter is that in Ontario, a jurisdiction which is eliminating coal, there are tremendous opportunities for renewable energy to emerge. And no better opportunity exists than in urbanized areas where the rooftop is being monetized. Don't ask me and don't listen to the people on the panel. Wander around from booth to booth to booth here at the Green Living Show and ask those small entrepreneurs and the large ones too, how many jobs are being created associated with the feed-in tariff that is an initiative that George Smitherman advanced as Minister of Energy and Infrastructure. I know that there are more opportunities for Toronto to promote economic activity. Our unions, like the building trades, are gaining capacity to do the kind of rooftop installations which allow Toronto to emerge as a world leader in renewable energy. This is the vision that I support, and this is the vision that I will advance.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Roger. This is my area of expertise. Coming from the private sector, running a multi-million-dollar corporation for 10 years, like I said, in the early 90s, after coming back from university, I understand how important it is. But we have to give incentive for people to have green roofs. I think green roofs are fantastic. But to make it mandatory, people are going to rebel. But if we can give some sort of incentive, either 1% off the property tax or some sort of grant, to give them that incentive, we will create jobs by the thousands. And let me tell you what I did with $1 billion. I created the largest investment in Toronto's history. It's called Woodbine Live. I went down, I met with the Cornish group. I was persistent for 5 years. I created jobs with $1 billion. That takes experience. I landed Walmart, I cleaned up Rexdale. You go to Rexdale 10 years ago, it was an eyesore. You go down there now, there's spotless. There's no graffiti. There's jobs, real concrete jobs. I've created over 5,000 jobs in getting the Cornish group to open up Woodbine Live. It's $1 billion investment that is invested in this city. That's the type of leadership we need. We need both business background to invest $1 billion in this city, and we need political experience. And being the son of an MPP, I know how Queen's Park works. Be endorsed by a federal finance minister, I know how Ottawa works. And I have 10 years of political experience to make this city work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger. Moving on to our next question.